On May 19, 1977, 20-year-old woman named Colleen Stan was hitchhiking from Eugene, Oregon to San Francisco, California. She was going to meet up with some friends for a birthday party. Hitchhiking was normal in the 70s. People did it all the time. But there were dangers. Things you had to watch out for. And that day, Colleen would turn down 2 rides. The first was from a group of guys in a pickup truck. Her gut told her no, so she walked away. Then a small blue car pulled up. Inside were a man and a woman. Their names were Cameron and Janice Hooker. They looked nice, a quiet-looking couple with a baby in the back seat. To Colleen, this seemed like the perfect offer. If they had a baby, they couldn't possibly be dangerous, so she got in. But soon after, something felt off. They stopped at a gas station. Colleen used the restroom. For a moment, she felt uneasy, like she was being watched. But she shook it off. Then the driver, Cameron, thanked her for the pleasant conversation. "But my wife and I have decided we don't want to drive anymore today. Would you like to stay at our house in Red Bluff?" Colleen hesitated, but something about the couple made her feel safe, so she agreed. Minutes later, Cameron turned onto a dirt road. He parked the car and said to Colleen, "Now listen very carefully. You do exactly what I tell you to do, and you won't get hurt." He then forced her into a strange, hand-built wooden box that fit tightly over her head. It blocked out light and muffled sound, making it hard to figure out where she was or what was happening. They carried her to their house, took her to the basement, and locked her inside. Then Cameron came back, stripped her naked, tied her wrists together, and suspended her from the ceiling. He beat her with an electrical cord and then tortured her with electrical shocks. She screamed, begging for mercy. But Cameron just kept going until finally she blacked out. When she woke up, he was gone. In his place was something even more horrific, a coffin-sized wooden box. That became Colleen's home. It was barely tall enough for her to lie down. She couldn't move, couldn't see, could barely breathe. It was hidden beneath the waterbed in the bedroom. And for 23 hours a day, she was trapped there. She was only allowed out for food, use, and more abuse. You might be wondering, why didn't she escape? Well, Cameron didn't just break her body, he broke her mind, told her about a secret, powerful organization called the Company. According to him, the Company monitored all slaves. If she ran or spoke of her situation, they would not only kill her, but her entire family. He then made her sign a slave contract giving him control over her. He even gave her a new name, Kay. From then on, she had to ask permission to speak, to eat, even to breathe deeply. Over time, the line between fear and belief blurred. Colleen began to obey without question, not because of physical chains, but psychological ones. And yet there were moments of freedom. Cameron let her into the backyard, took her on errands sometimes. Amazingly, in 1981, 4 years into her captivity, she was allowed to visit her family. They probably thought it was a miracle. But later, they would say she seemed almost robotic. She went back willingly. That's how strong her fear of the Company was. Soon after, Cameron, now fully convinced of his control, wanted more. He told Janice, his wife, that he was ready to take a second slave. That's when Janice snapped. She had suffered Cameron's abuse too, but this time, he'd gone too far. She finally confessed everything to a pastor and asked for help. He told her to call the police. First, though, she helped Colleen escape. On August 9, 1984, Colleen called Cameron from a bus station and told him she was leaving. And then, for the first time in 7 years, she went home and stayed free. At first, she didn't press charges. She was still under Cameron's psychological grip. She believed he could change, that the Company was still real. But with support from her family and pressure from Janice, Colleen eventually spoke to the police. Cameron Hooker was arrested in 1985 and charged with kidnapping, false imprisonment, rape, and torture. Janice, in exchange for full testimony, received immunity. In court, the jury heard about the box, the contract, the 7 years of silent hell. Cameron Hooker was convicted and sentenced to 104 years in prison. Psychologists studied Colleen's case for years. How could someone return to their captors? Why didn't she scream when she was out in public? It was clear Colleen's chains weren't metal. They were fear, obedience, psychological domination. She had been turned into someone who believed escape would bring death. And that belief nearly kept her caged forever. After her escape, Colleen went on to rebuild her life. She worked with abuse victims and became an advocate. And slowly, quietly, she found healing, one piece at a time. She later said, "I was not only in a box under a bed, I was in a box inside myself." Her story reminds us of something deeper. Sometimes the most terrifying prisons are invisible. Sometimes silence can be louder than screams. And sometimes survival doesn't always look like escape. It looks like endurance. Thanks for watching. Follow Dark Truth Files for more real crimes, dark twists, and deeper truths.